It's 5 o'clock in Pirate Country, and it's time to get pumped up with the P-Man. Hit the door and hit the road. 94.3 The Game is going to get you home, and the P-Man's not holding back.
Yes! Yes! Pirates win! Pirates win!
Bring on the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Holy mackerel! Oh, my goodness!
The flagship station of the ECU Pirates.
All right, hello again, everybody, and welcome. It's a peaks and valleys thing, Pilk, and right now I'm in a valley. But I'm here with you, so it's a peak.
I appreciate that.
Welcome. Yes, welcome. Great to be with you here today on this Boo Chilly edition of the Patrick Johnson Show. We're yielding the 5 o'clock hour and the hour after that to the Logan Zone, which is coming up. We'll hear from Coach sometime around the bottom of the hour today during this program as we are kicking it here on this gorgeous day. Gorgeous because the snow is melting.
Hey now.
And I can't tell you how much I love that.
Do it live!
We are today with Scott Jackson coming up in a few minutes, our friend from 94.1 ESPN Radio in Norfolk. He also is the host of the Commanders Radio Network. So we'll talk the NFC Championship with Scott Shook's Washington Commandos. Pilk, how do you feel about their chances going into Philadelphia?
You know, this is a team that has kind of surprised me. You know, I thought the Tampa Bay game was a little more evenly matched, but they went out there and beat a team with a high-powered offense last time out, and by doing it in shootout fashion. So,
they just spanked Detroit.
They did.
Like they kept Detroit at arm's length the entire night.
Mm-hmm. Really started with that pick six there in early second quarter or whatever. But it's cool to see him do this. You know, a lot of my family was Washington fans, and you mentioned Scott Shook and Pirate Al and many others throughout the throughout the listening area. I know, and some other friends of ours.
Our guy Brian Mull
are all Redskins fans. So. I mean, I don't think I'm going to pick them, but am I going to be surprised if they win the game? No.
It's going to be interesting. In the other game, right now my head leans towards KC. I don't. My heart doesn't really care either way. So, but I until I really really delve into it, maybe we'll ask Coach, see what Coach thinks. Get some takes on him from this. But Scott Jackson will give us kind of the rundown from the artist formerly known as the Redskins perspective coming up. So what is the deal for tomorrow? What's the deal with Friday? Right now, I am at this very moment scheduled to not be in town tomorrow. I got something I got to go do work-wise. So Pilk right now is hosting the show. Now, this is all subject to change because my work involves up in Wake County, Raleigh area, and those people will cancel a class in a heartbeat up there. There ain't no going to class late on snow and ice days in Wake County. So my guess is there's a better than 50-50 shot that I will be on the show tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Because of that, if I am, regardless, we're going to be out at the event they're having to honor the military bowl team. That event for ECU has been moved indoors to the Hall of Fame area, and they're going to utilize the two practice gymnasiums in that vast area for, autograph signings and pictures. It's a big celebration. We're going to be there. And like I say, either I'll be there with Pilk, or Pilk will be there with whoever he's there with. But Brian Robinson, the Double R Express, we're going to get him to grab us, Blake Harrell, some of the players. It's going to be a big old time. And we'll be there. I think the event's from 5:30 to 7. They'll be signing autographs from 5:30 to 6:30, but we'll be there doing our show. We'll have some audio for Mike Swartz tomorrow. He's speaking to the media tomorrow, late morning, midday, somewhere in there. Of course, the Pirates are playing USF. So one way or the other, we'll have that event for you tomorrow. It'll just depend on if I'm there. Now, I I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling a lot better than I felt the last 2 days, but I still have to turn a corner or two here to be able to get to where I feel like I need to be and that kind of thing. And my voice, and I've literally today talked all day, which was probably not wise because I could tell it right now in my voice. I don't sound very good right now. I sound a little worse than I feel, and I don't feel that great. But that's kind of where we are with that. But I just wanted to give everybody the rundown. That's our plan for tomorrow. Of course, back in the morning on Talk of the Town for that, and then all the other stuff tomorrow, and then ESPN Plus at 1 o'clock Saturday. So I'm trying to preserve myself as much as possible. Again, today probably talked a little too much, given the state of my voice. But, hey, we're hanging in there, and we're going to get it done. Anything, Pilk, that we need to review? Anything that's happened today? Any breaking news rundown, that kind of thing?
Oh, I haven't really seen anything big. No coach news in the NFL.
The Jags fired their GM yesterday.
Yeah, late yesterday afternoon. I think we were just going off air when that happened. Which
was not a surprise, given the fact that their top target, who was the coordinator in Tampa, basically said, I'm good. I'm staying in Tampa. I mean, that's really what he told him.
Yeah.
I'd rather be the coordinator in Tampa than work for the Khan family and the Jags.
You know, it's so funny, isn't it, Patrick? This team gets founded in 95. They make the conference championship game in 96 after beating Elway in the divisional round. And then 99, they're back in the championship game again. And boy, has it been brutal since then. Yet in 2017, they made a championship game, but it has been, I mean, they haven't had a legit quarterback since the late 90s. Consistently. I mean, I know they had Garrard and Leftwich, who were I guess they were legit, but still, since them, and they've never had a star at quarterback.
Well, they think Trevor Lawrence is the star. Now, of the three scenarios that are open out there, correct me if I'm wrong on any of them, Pilk. Dallas, Oakland, and Jacksonville. What's the best gig out of the three?
Dallas. Well, you're working for Jerry Jones.
There's a lot of pros.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pros. You've got Dak, for better or for worse, locked up long term. Historically, you have a good defense.
You have a starting offensive lineman that's made more Pro Bowls than penalties he's committed. You've got a great pass rusher.
There's positives.
You got a number one wide receiver.
You have a fan base. Yeah. You have fan base. You're going to have support. I would think spare no expense, but you got to work for Jerry Jones.
That is the tough thing. But, I mean, you're talking about the other two organizations that have had hardly any success. We already highlighted the Jags. And, I mean, if you get post-Jim Plunkett era, what have the Raiders done? I mean, they went on that one little nice run where they made the playoff, made the Super Bowl with Rich Gannon, but they haven't really been consistently decent since Plunkett left. You
have, again, a big fan base. You're in a brand-new state-of-the-art dome in Vegas.
But you don't have a quarterback. You don't have a defense. Don't have
a quarterback. Don't have a defense. Tom Brady is a partial owner. And you got a new GM.
Yeah.
Who came from Tampa.
Last time somebody left Tampa, they went on to make the Panthers look the best they've looked in half a decade. So
that's true. But I'm just wondering, of the three, I mean, it's Dallas, but then the other two, who would it be? I guess.
I mean, solely because of Trevor Lawrence, maybe you take the Jags, even though, like I said, no fan base, but. Yeah, sunshine.
Well, and I will say this: all three states are no income tax states.
That is
true. No state income tax.
That's a good point.
So there's no advantage there. That's where my mind kind of goes with these things.
Yeah. So Texas is Texas. There's a lot to do, but it gets pretty hot. Vegas is the desert, but there's a lot of stuff to do, but you can get in trouble. Florida's the coolest out of all of them, but you got hurricanes.
Florida's crazy. You got Jacksonville, which is basically southern Georgia.
Yeah.
And now snow this week. Snow and ice.
Yeah.
Closing down bridges. All right. We'll preview the NFC Championship game. The Washington Commanders and the Eagles Scott Jackson with the Commanders Radio Network, our friend from ESPN Radio up in Norfolk, is going to join us. We'll talk to Scotty coming up next, and then Coach Logan near the bottom of the hour.
Open on Memorial Drive in front of Academy Sports. What sets Jaggers apart? Well, everything, and I mean everything, is made from scratch. Burgers, chicken, and salads like you've never tasted. Shoestring fries, too. So what are you excited to try? Hey, it's a fun environment. You just have to see for yourself. And if you haven't been to Jaggers, come on by and taste it for yourself. Nothing is prepackaged. You're going to love Jaggers. Now open on Memorial Drive in front of Academy Sports.
Hallo, this is meine Auto. Und this is meine key. And there is only one place I trust with meine key. Meine key Car Care. They even offer financing options, so I can fix now and pay over time. Ooh, I love financing. And options. Und meine key. And American cheese. Remember, I only trust meine key with meine key. Your one-stop shop for total car care.
At participating locations, subject to credit approval, minimum monthly payment required. See store for details. Meineke locations are independently owned and operated.
Hi, everybody. I'm Clyde Bailey of Bailey's Fine Jewelry, and I want to thank you for making Bailey's a part of the special moments in your family's lives. From the time my parents opened Bailey's in 1948, they always said, if you're honest and take real good care of your customers will take good care of you. Families all over Eastern North Carolina have supported and trusted us to provide fine quality, honest value, and outstanding service. And then there's all the beautiful jewelry. From our incredible selection of engagement rings to the latest in fashion jewelry, there's no place like Bailey's. We bring you the best. Top designers including David Yurman, Lagos, Hippolyta, Mikimoto, and Forever Mark Diamonds, the most beautiful diamonds in the world. Truly no other store compares. But don't just take my word for it. I invite you to come in and see for yourself what makes Bailey so special. Let us help you be the hero at your house when you come home with a Bailey box. Visit us in Greenville on Red Banks Road, in Rocky Mountain on Winston Avenue, and in Raleigh's Cameron Village and Crabtree Valley Mall. Remember, guys, every woman wants a Bailey box.
Trust me, I'm not the selfie-taking type, but after my family's last trip to Fantastic Sam's Cut and Color, I could be. Now I've got a hot new look. And just between you and me, my husband may have touched up his gray roots. Just a tap.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Got it.
Why just be a customer when you can be a priority? At North Carolina Farm Bureau, we're focused on your specific needs. That's why we have local agents working for you in every county across the state, offering competitive rates and fast, friendly service. It's more than insurance. It's the kind of treatment you deserve. Farm Bureau Insurance. Helping you is what we do best.
In Greenville, contact Bill King at 252-413-8850. That's Bill King at 252-413-8850.
We have you covered with all the ECU news and beyond that you need for the drive home. The Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Tidewater area, also hosts game days for the Commanders Radio Network, does a little bit of play-by-play work as well for ESPN Plus with ODU, and has worked with VCU in the past too. Big media star, that's Scotty Jackson. He joins us here on the Patrick Johnson Show. Scott, how are you?
Wow, that's a heck of an introduction. Big media star. Thank you, Patrick. How you been, buddy?
I'm doing well. I think back to one time when Scott had to drive me in the snow, Pilkington, when we were both working in Raleigh on radio during snow coverage. And like I said all week, Scott, I still have PTSD from those days. Not from your driving, but from the fact that we from the snow coverage and the accommodations that we were often given. So, all right, boy, those were just brutal times. Brutal times. All right. Well, hey, let's start with the obvious here. Can the Commanders beat the Eagles again and get to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, you know what? I think they feel like they can, and I don't think that's unreasonable. I mean, Philadelphia, as great of a season as they've had, I think, there's a lot of question about Jalen Hurts' health this weekend, that second half or third quarter when he took that hit that injured his ankle, went to the medical tent, came back. They were very protective of him, and let's be honest, if Jalen Hurts can't be a run threat consistently, that really limits the Eagles' offense. Now, Saquon Barkley's been great, MVP level great, but as we saw the last time, these two teams met, when the Commanders knocked out Jalen Hurts and they really could just load up on Saquon Barkley, the game changed. They were able to really slow down what Philly was doing, and offensively, the Commanders, had no issues throwing the football on the Eagles. At that time, I think they were the number one pass defense. I think they're probably still number one pass defense in the NFL, en route to putting up 36 points and a win in Washington that day. So I think they feel very confident that they can go in there and win it. I mean, as everybody's kind of pat them on the back throughout the season, going, "Oh, nice job, you guys are ahead of schedule." They don't look at it that way. This is a team that's got a real chip on their shoulder, and they're playing their best football now too, which I think is also very important. They've ripped off 7 wins in a row now.
And you referenced that last matchup between the two. Jaden Daniels had 5 touchdown passes, 3 of them in the fourth quarter. Was magnificent. What do you expect the Eagles to do maybe differently defensively this time around?
Well, I think first and foremost, they're probably going to want to pressure him. They're probably want to get interior pressure on him as well. And if you look at the matchups at the right guard positions, a little dicey now for the Commanders with Sam Cosme being injured in the last game and being done for the year. That's a big blow. And Jalen Carter is so good on the inside. Their front four is really good as well. Yeah. So I think that's what they're going to want to do. And I'm sure they're going to want to take McLaurin away from him, and try to. They tried to do that last game as well. A lot of teams, go out and try to do those type of things. Philadelphia did a really good job in that game stopping the Commanders' running game for the running backs. One of the worst games Brian Robinson's ever had. He had 2 fumbles and really had not looked like himself until this past week against Detroit, so that was a good sign. I think a real key for the Commanders will be, can they run the ball with Robinson and Eckler in addition to Jaden Daniels, because that will open some things up in the passing game. So that'll be big for them, and protecting the football. I mean, they've been excellent when they protected the football and dominated time of possession, and they've done that in the majority of the games they've won. This was the weird one. Against Philadelphia, they turned the ball over 5 times and still somehow won that game. And, you can certainly point to the Jalen Hurts' injury, but again, the number one defense in the NFL got skewered in that game by this Commanders offense.
Scott Jackson, our friend from ESPN Radio 94.1 in Norfolk, also with the Commanders Radio Network pre-half and post-host. I read a really interesting article maybe a couple weeks ago about Dan Quinn, and he talked about getting I can't remember exactly the details, but he got people to kind of analyze the operation when he was with the Falcons. This is after he got fired. The good, the bad, the ugly. Got a whole myriad of people. And he went back and he obviously skipped over all the glowing stuff and read the real critical stuff and then took that to heart and kind of put that together, used some of that in Dallas for the plan there as the defensive coordinator, but then has applied it this time. So, with Dan Quinn, what is it that has allowed him to be so successful and on the cusp of, for him possibly coaching in another Super Bowl?
Well, it's interesting. When they hired him, of course, like everybody else, you want to find out about the coach your team's hiring. I called, Wes Durham, who covered him and knows him very well, still friends with him in Atlanta, and obviously from all of his ACC coverage. And Wes said, "Look, you're gonna love this guy. He's he's one of the most real people you're ever going to meet," and that couldn't have been more true. I mean, he's just he's a down to earth guy. He's real. He's enthusiastic. It's not fake enthusiasm at all. I mean, and he's really gone out of his way and goes out of his way to know his players, to certainly play to their strengths. He's demanding too, but I think because he is also connecting with his team on a personal level, it allows him to be demanding and them to accept that and be accepting of the way he is. He doesn't change. He's consistent with his approach. And, certainly one of the things that he's come out on the other side with is a very aggressive, analytical approach to offense in the terms of going for it on fourth down a lot. These fourth and short situations certainly helps to have a quarterback like Jaden Daniels. And the way Cliff Kingsbury's designed this offense is also a big help. But, it's been a big part of who they are is these fourth down, conversions, I think 20 of 23. I mean, it's insane how they've been able to convert them at that rate. And then obviously in the playoffs here, both games so far, they've been the same way, although they were stopped, in both games once. But I think that's been a big part of it, and he's really tapped into some the motivational stuff. He's got a lot of sayings and things, a lot of T-shirts he's made since he's been here, but it's all very genuine. It's all really a genuine guy, and it's really cool to see because this has happened before. Andy Reid, was in Philadelphia, fired, went to the championship games, went to a Super Bowl loss. Dan Quinn had a Super Bowl loss. And I think the way he's layered the staff is also interesting in case, Cliff Kingsbury gets that opportunity at some point, like Kyle Shanahan did in Atlanta. And then they had Sarkisian, but after Sarkisian, they had a real setback with that offense. I think he's kind of put his staff in a position here where that's not going to be something that'll be debilitating if it were to happen.
So, Scotty, Cliff Kingsbury, you mentioned him. I don't think you can understate what he has done as the offensive coordinator, what Dan Quinn's allowed him to do, but also how he has utilized Daniels.
No, 100%. I mean, he's been great at it. A lot of college concepts, the way they spread you out, they play very wide, very similar to Tennessee, actually very similar to what Old Dominion's trying to do here on the collegiate level, on the G5 level. It opens up some big run lanes when they block correctly. And obviously put some teams in tough spots with the running quarterback too. So I think he's done a really nice job. And Cliff, they had a little bit of a rough patch this year when they were dealing with that 3-game losing skid. I will maintain during that time. There was a lot of these stories written. The Cliff. This is what happens to Cliff Kingsbury's team suck at the end of the year, get off the fast starts. I mean, look, in college, usually you play the softer schedule early, and the harder schedule when you play in the conference at the end of the season. So most teams don't keep up that pace they start with. I always thought that was a little bit of a fallacy. Now, in Arizona, sure, that happened. Also, one of the seasons he lost his quarterback, which kind of mattered, and Kyler Murray. But anyway, I digress. It was a 3-week area where, his quarterback was hurt. I mean, his quarterback got injured in the game against the Panthers on October 20th and really took him multiple weeks to get that rib feeling good. I don't think he felt well when they played in Philadelphia on that Thursday night. I mean, it was pretty obvious. He kept getting wrapped during the game. And, finally, in the Dallas game, started letting it rip. And then the Titans game after that, and then after the bye week, he's looked a lot better. So I think that was a big part of it. But, yeah, Kingsbury has done a really good job. And look, outside of McLaurin, Ertz is, what people perceive as the other side of the mountain. Robinson, has been up and down here. Eckler, nobody really wanted him. So I think they've done a good job. Zacchaeus was like the 4th receiver in Philly last year. He's had some bright spots. Jamison Crowder's made some big plays for them when he's been on the field. And De'Ami Brown's finally turning some things around. So he's got a lot out of a lot of different players this year.
Yeah, Crowder, the Duke alum. Scott Jackson, 94.1 Norfolk, Commanders Radio Network. Let me ask you, I was getting ready for this. I was just kind of thinking, all right, with Kingsbury there, Dan Quinn, this thing looks very stable. But then you look, what head coaching jobs are open? The Raiders, the Cowboys, for better or for worse, the Jaguars, who probably want to make a splash at it and have at least what they believe to be a quarterback. So there's some intriguing opportunities still out there. Could Kingsbury be lured away?
Well, what's interesting is he has not done any of these virtual interviews yet. Joe Witt Jr., their defensive coordinator, did with the Jets. Of course, they hired Aaron Glenn. But, yeah, it's odd because I think everybody just assumed the natural fit would have been Chicago, right, because of the quarterback who he worked with at USC, Caleb Williams. Well, that never materialized. Obviously, they got their number 1 target, Ben Johnson. Of what's left, I don't – like the Raiders could have had him last year as the OC. They kind of goofed around with the money and didn't do it, and he went elsewhere. I don't know if that would be an interesting job to him at all, knowing that they really don't have a solution at quarterback. I think he could be choosy here. I really do. My feeling right as we sit here today is he's not going anywhere. He's going to stick it out here for at least another season and see if there's better opportunities ahead. And he's got some money. Obviously, made some money with the Cardinals buyout and all that stuff. So. I don't think he's in a big hurry to just dive back into any situation just to be a head coach.
Yeah, I got you. Look, he's got a great quarterback to deal with in Washington right now.
Exactly.
So we played the cut. I thought it was a great call. the game-winning kick against Tampa on the radio. Graham Weinstein and London Fletcher, just great. That was fantastic. That call.
Those guys are having a lot of fun. I mean, again, all of us knew this was going to be a better situation the minute Dan Snyder had to sell. And we were excited about it, but nobody is telling you the truth that they said they expected them to run it this far. I mean, they're just lying to you.
Right.
I mean, maybe guys in that building were that committed and that there was that much belief, but no, I mean, it's wild, man. I mean, and I thought they could win that game. I felt like they had a shot against Detroit. And, like I said to you earlier, I think they could beat Philadelphia. They're going to play a really clean game. They're not going to be able to get away with 5 turnovers. And, they've got to do – they've not been great against the run all year, which is one of the weirdest stats you'll see this week at some point, is they're like 9-3 now in games where somebody rushes for over 120 yards on them. I mean, I don't think that's recommended. That's not normal, right? Like, that's not ideal to get gashed like that on the ground. But, they've been able to to still be in games. And obviously if you give this kid the ball with time on the clock and you don't have more than a 1-score lead, you're taking your life in your own hands.
So that game's at 3, your game's at 3. The 6:30 game will be in the AFC, and it's for the first time in a few years it'll be Buffalo back in there, I think the first time since 2020, and then Kansas City going for the three-peat. Just a quick primer from your perspective on that. How do you see that one?
I feel like Buffalo, if they play like they have been lately, which is not turning the ball over Josh Allen, being smarter with the football, they got a really good chance to win that game. I still just, and I get it, the Chiefs this time of year, bring out the magic, but this is certainly the most vulnerable they've been at any point. Still have not really, seen the best of Pacheco since he came back from that injury, which I think is a big part of their offense. The passing game, they had some success last week with certainly Kelsey had a huge day, but still not been a high-level, high-powered offense, kicking a lot of field goals. I think if you goof around and, if Buffalo is able to get some, to swap touchdowns for field goals, I think they could certainly go in there and win the football game. It's just a question of whether Buffalo believes it. And, you would hope to think by now they do. They've been through it enough at this point, and they beat Kansas City earlier this year.
One other thing I wanted to ask you, and I maybe should have asked you this earlier, but with the stadium situation with Washington now, what is that looking like?
Well, the biggest part of it is, D.C. now has the power in their own hands. They don't have to wait for some type of, government, vote and all this stuff because they actually control it now. That's what look, Josh Harris didn't spend $6 billion on this team to move it, to Virginia or to keep it in Maryland, in PG County. I mean, his goal has been to build a stadium in D.C., and so they control that RFK site now. They've been talking to the Commanders, and, it's going to have to go through the city council. They're going to have to make a deal that makes sense for both sides, clearly. But there's a lot of momentum behind it. I think that's certainly their number one target, and it's not really a secret. It's a pretty obvious thing that they're trying to get done here. So, still got some hurdles, but they cleared a lot of the big ones, which is all the federal government red tape of it, which was so silly that, D.C. couldn't control, their own destiny with their own land.
Right. Yeah. Going to be interesting. But look, I think they kind of belong in the nation's capital. So,
100%.
I think everybody,
100%.
Yeah, it'll be a much better deal when they get there. All right. When you sign on Monday for your afternoon show on 94.1 in Norfolk, what are you talking about that day? The Super Bowl matchup will be?
Yes, we were talking about that, and hopefully it's going to be.
Right, but what will it be? What will it be? Give me the prediction. What's the matchup?
It's going to be the rematch of the Super Bowl 26. It's going to be the Bills and Washington.
Okay, all right. Bills and Washington. I got you. I was trying to remember the other day what Super Bowl that is. It was 26, wasn't it?
Yeah,
all
26.
Right.
1991. I had a lot more hair, and it was a lot darker.
Scott Jackson. Hey, Scotty, thanks a lot. Enjoy this NFC Championship game, and I hope you get to go to the Super Bowl. I hope that they need to take you down.
Well, here's the funky thing. I'm going to the Super Bowl regardless, and I have been on the books for months. And never in my craziest dreams did I think I was going there to watch the Commanders. So, I mean, if it happens, man, let me tell you, it's gonna be a lot of look. It's gonna be fun either way. Let's not fool ourselves in New Orleans. But it's gonna be turned up a few degrees.
Well, if you're able to go and have those other duties, then you make a little extra bread, and that's always good.
100%.
It's always good.
Yep, I've been enjoying that part of these last 2 weeks too. they even put my radio face. They even put my radio face on Commanders' digital pregame shows now. So yeah, it's been good.
Wow. All right. Well, very good. All right. Hey, Scott. Best of luck to you guys, and
thank you.
We may get an update from you Super Bowl week, one way or the other, since you'll be down there.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, buddy. The great Scott Jackson with us here right now. Philip the Ref Pilkington with the Sports Flash Update and Pirate Report.
Thank you, P-Man. Starting in Pirate Athletics, the American Athletic Conference preseason softball poll was released today. Pirates were selected to finish fourth. They were the highest-ranked team that did not receive any first-place votes. Wichita, FAU, and North Texas are the top three. In the NBA last night, the Hornets' 3-game win streak came to an end at the hands of the Memphis Grizzlies. Grizzlies won at 132-120, despite the Hornets being down by 30 at the halftime break. One game has already gone final earlier today out in Paris. The Spurs defeated the Pacers 140-110. Last night, while we were sleeping to these early hours of the morning, Madison Keys defeated Iga Swiatek in the semifinals of the Australian Open. This will be Keys' second ever major final. She went to the finals of the U.S. Open back in 2017, but was unsuccessful, and she will be facing world's number one Aryna Sabalenka, who will be going for her fourth major title and third straight Aussie Open. On the men's side, the semifinals are tonight into tomorrow morning. Late tonight, second-seeded Alexander Zverev will take on 10-time Australian Open champion Novak Djokovic, and then in the early hours of tomorrow morning, 21st-ranked American Ben Shelton will take on last year's Australian Open champion Yannick Sinner of Italy. That'll do it for your 94.3 The Game Sports Flash Update and Pirate Report. And take us out here on the Patrick Johnson Show. We'll be joined by Coach Logan on the other side.
2025 off with your health in mind. If you are interested in living longer and living stronger, Eastern Physical and Lifestyle Medicine is accepting new patients for a limited time. Finding a caring physician can be a challenge. Dr. Billy Smith is board certified in physical medicine and lifestyle medicine and has been practicing in the area for many years. Dr. Smith has a passion for the people of Eastern North Carolina. Eastern Physical and Lifestyle Medicine specializes in helping patients with weight loss, diabetes, high cholesterol, and blood pressure management, among many other medical conditions. Eastern Physical and Lifestyle Medicine will guide your journey to live longer and live stronger. Let this be the year you focus on your health. During this period, new patients will be accepted for a limited time. Call for an appointment now to Eastern Physical and Lifestyle Medicine, 252-364-1108 in Greenville. That number again is 252-364-1108.
Anson Belt & Buckle offers a micro-adjustable, holeless belt, giving you the perfect fit every time. As an ECU alumni-owned business since 2009, Anson Belt is proud to be the official belt of East Carolina Athletics. Looking for a new belt for yourself or a special pirate? Visit AnsonBelt.com to see why over 30,000 customers have given their Anson Belt a 5-star review. With dozens of materials to choose from and thousands of possible combinations, you'll find the belt for every occasion, especially game day, at AnsonBelt.com.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Hard!
You've heard the testimonials of customers from Wells Roofing and Gutters, but you may not know how Jim Wells and his team give back to the community. Recently, Wells Roofing and Gutters had a special Veterans giveaway, and they donated new gutters and labor for the winner, who was Greenville's Tom Quigley, who is a veteran.
My experience with Jim Wells, he was actually running for the 4th of July Veterans Day special where he wanted to gift a set of gutters for a veteran. His crew came out, and it was probably the most professional crew I've ever seen in my life, and they took care of everything. I mean, attention to detail was unreal.
Contact Jim Wells today at 252-227-8403. That's 252-227-8403.
I would just say that he was a straight-up, hard-working, honest person who stands behind what he says he's going to do. And in today's world, that's more important to me than anything else, a man who gives you his word and sticks to it.
Have you noticed he's in his own little happy hour? We're back to the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
This is the Happy Hour program.
Here's the P-Man.
All right, coming up at the top of the hour, it'll be the Logan Zone, a brand new edition, and Coach Steve Logan will be on for 2 hours, taking your calls, answering your questions, and talking football. Coach joins us here for a primer on the program and a lot more. Coach, I don't know what it's like in Oklahoma, but I have to imagine that there is I have no clue. I can't imagine that anybody in Oklahoma is a better driver than the people in North Carolina when it snows just a little bit. And these people that are driving, especially down in the beach, God love them. I mean, it's like sheets of ice on 17 between the Working Man's Beach, Surf City, and Jacksonville. And these guys get out there in these huge trucks. And it doesn't matter what you're driving. You can't drive on ice. You just can't do it.
No, I can tell you, snow in Oklahoma is normal. And January, February is Oklahoma is basically an awful place to live when it comes to weather. Because you're either going to be hotter than you've ever been in your life or colder than you've ever been in your life. Spring lasts about 1 day. Fall lasts about maybe 2 days. And everything else is just a burning hell from summer and, a blue norther coming in and sleet and ice. So, the people in Oklahoma I'll tell you what they do. They've got enough sense to not go out when it starts snowing because you're right. There's not quite enough investment in the snow plows and all the things that are necessary to deal with it. And it's kind of like, just hang on and it'll go away. And, of course, you get over here to North Carolina and you got no chance because of just what you're talking about. So I have been in my townhome here in Raleigh for I don't know how long, a week straight. And I've got another 4 or 5 days before I'm barely going to venture out. I did go once to the food line and did what everybody does, which is buy all the bread and milk for no particular reason.
Come on,
but anyway,
Coach. Come on,
well,
Coach.
Whatever.
So, Pilk, come in here with a little breaking news, Pilk, for the people here. Here we go.
Everyone, a little breaking news for you.
It has been announced that ECU's season opener at NC State will be played on Thursday night, August the 28th. The TV network and kickoff time have not yet been announced, but it is, according to Stephen Igo, expected to be on national television one way or another. So I'm guessing ABC, ESPN, and I think ESPN2 usually all have time slots that afternoon or that evening, and I guess we'll be on one of those.
Okay. I could see that being an ESPN game. The Thursday night game has been in college, which used to be such a special thing, Coach. Now the NFL dominates the Thursday night. The NFL takes every night now, it seems like. But I guess if you're going to play on a Thursday, early season, maybe before the NFL gets cranked up, is probably a good night to do it.
Oh, there'll be a lot of eyeballs on that game for a lot of different reasons. But you're right. I doubt if the NFL will have a Thursday night game at that point in the season. And, there's a good chance that early that they'll have the whole room to themselves, so to speak. And that's going to be of course, the North Carolina State, East Carolina football game locally, regionally, is a big deal to a lot of people. But this particular year, because of the oddity of ending a season with East Carolina, North Carolina State, and then kicking off exactly the same way for the next season, this is going to be really interesting. It's going to be a really, really important game for Dave Dorn. And I talked a little bit about this on one of my shows that, the loss to East Carolina to end the season damaged Dave with his fan base and with his administration. And I don't have any inside information with that. I've been in the business long enough to know how that works. And that was not okay. And so I will, if I were coaching East Carolina, I would be preparing the young men to be walking into a full speed, highly interested, highly motivated North Carolina State football team. They will not make the normal mistake that they normally make, which is not really bearing down on that football game. They have a history of it, but that will not be the case this coming year.
Coach Steve Logan coming up at 5 o'clock today. It will be the Logan Zone. Was looking at this tweet. It was Clay Travis who actually tweeted it. 22.1 million viewers, which is a lot, watched Ohio State and Notre Dame. But it was the third lowest playoff title game viewership on record. When you consider all the hype, the 12-team expansion, 2 national brands, is that a mechanism of because it was being played on a Monday night? Any thoughts on maybe why that's the case? I mean, it's still a huge number. Don't get me wrong, but over 22 million is a lot of people watching a football game.
I read that and was mildly surprised at those numbers. My personal take on it, I think that there may have been some television fatigue from being on the television all day long with the inauguration. And, I talked to a number of people that, really, politics is their big deal. And, of course, they're interested in sports, but the political game was the number one show in town, and it went on all day long and into the evening. So that's the only thing. I just thought that those two events being on the same day, it was coincidental, but that's the way it turned out.
The other crazy thing was just not to get too deep into politics here. Trump was everywhere. He was getting inaugurated. He was at the arena. He was at the ball. He went to this ball. This guy's got incredible energy, Coach. If we only had half his energy, we'd be in business.
Well, all you got to do is drink 12 Diet Cokes a day. But I'm like you, regardless, and I steer way clear of the political arena for obvious reasons. There's enough of that out there for everybody to choose sides and pull out your knives and guns and have all the wars you want to have without me getting in the middle of it. But, he is an amazing individual to watch regardless. He just is. And I'm like you. It went on from 6 a.m. to midnight, and I guess he had 4 more balls to go to that night. And the next day he was up and never stopped. So anyway, he's a different cat. I can tell you that.
So, we saw these snow games in the playoffs, the NFL. Before I get into that, though, let me ask you I meant to ask you about coaching in a snow game. But what would you change about the playoff if they went to you and said, "Steve Logan, we want you to make some tweaks for this playoff deal"? What would you tweak, including would you play it if you could? Would you play it on a different day? The championship.
No, I think the playoffs in the NFL are pretty well entrenched in their traditions. I know that personally, if as an offensive coordinator, and if I was, and this was true in college, just last week, I did an entire 2-hour show on developing a game plan, what all is involved. And that show last week, it's up on YouTube now. That show was really, really targeted to true football nerds. I'm sure a lot of people may have turned off that broadcast because I went way deep in the weeds on what was really going on with developing a game plan and how and why you call any particular football play in a game. And this whole conversation started with the toss sweep that Steve Sarkisian called on the +1 yard line against Ohio State that ended up costing him a football game. It was catastrophic. It was a catastrophic call. And at no point do I say it was a bad call. But anyway, the point I'm making is that when I got into this dissertation about developing a game plan, do you know that one of the very first things that I did each week, okay, it's Sunday afternoon, and I'm just beginning my week for the next week. The very first thing I did on my little checklist was check the extended forecast. Now, you wouldn't think that would be high on the list, but it is number one on your list if you're developing a game plan.
Yeah.
And I would look up, and if I saw it was going to be raining, the first thing I did is throw up because, we were going to try or attempt to throw the football. We were throwing the football 35 times a game back in 1991, 2, 3, 4, all through the 90s. And nobody else was. We were. And certainly if I saw snow, we played in one snow game in 1992 up in West Virginia. And it just impacts everything that you do. The NFL people are a little bit more equipped. They've got the quarterbacks they have. Josh Allen can throw a football in the snow. So can Patrick Mahomes. But these are the top 1% of the 1%. And the men that are running the routes can catch the football in the snow. But it still makes it, you're going to see turnovers in a snow game, just like you did in the Eagles game. And the ball is going to get dropped. So it's going to have a huge impact in the game. But I think the NFL is built that way. It's traditional and makes it kind of fun. I just thank God I don't have to be in the middle of it in a way.
So of the 3 NFL head coaching openings that exist right now, Dallas, Jacksonville, and then the Raiders, and they all have obvious pros and cons, some greater than others. Out of those 3, I guess Dallas is the best job that's open of those 3?
It is, and I'll tell you why. Dallas, I had the good fortune of working at San Francisco. And here's the deal when you go to work at a legacy NFL franchise. San Francisco is a legacy NFL franchise. So is Dallas. And you hear these horror stories about, let's say, Jed York, who is the main guy in charge of the 49ers, or Jerry Jones at the Cowboys. You hear these horror stories, but everybody that I talked to that has ever worked at the Dallas Cowboys, they loved working there. And I can say the same thing for working at the San Francisco 49ers. I loved working there. Here's why. Whatever you needed, they gave it to you as fast as they could if it was possible. From a player to a facility to it didn't matter. Everything was super first class. Now the trade-off to that is this. They're going to provide it to you. You better win. You better win now, or you're going to be gone now. So to me, that's a fair trade-off. And I would rather work in that environment than working, I'm going to say this gently, it wasn't quite that way at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Right.
So, you can just take that for what it's worth. So, if you got a chance to go to work for Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, that's exactly what you do.
All right, of the 2 championship games, NFC, AFC, who do you like in each one of them and why?
Well, I've noticed suddenly that everybody is picking both underdogs. Everybody's picking, the Bills, and on the other side of the deal, everybody is picking the Commanders, which I find really interesting. But it seems very plausible that both of those things could happen. But I'm the world's worst picking. I've coached the game so long that all I can ever do is look at any football team and figure out 1,000 ways they could lose it. And that doesn't even factor in the turnover deal, which is always the swing. That's the swing number. You turn the ball over once, twice. Well, how do you factor in last week the tight end from the Ravens just dropping the ball?
Yeah,
now, Let me give everybody a little comment on that. Coaching the quarterbacks down through the years, you had a ball that wasn't thrown well enough, and you had to chart it that way. You had a ball that was thrown certainly well enough and was just flat out dropped, right? And that's the receiver's fault. I had a category, and it dawned on me one day, there are certain throws that fall into the category of throw it better, catch it better. And that ball that was thrown fell into that category. Behind that tight end, was it catchable? Absolutely. Would that tight end make that catch 99 out of 100? Yes, he would. But in the world of assignment of blame and distribution of credit, I developed a category, and I charted it every year: throw it better, catch it better. That's where that event landed. Now, I know the tight end's getting all the heat for dropping that, but again, I'm getting back to who you're going to pick in a football game, and something like that is the determining factor. So, the only thing I will say, I think it's time for Josh Allen to win this thing. He's going to have to do it on the road, I guess. But I think he's on a mission. I think that the normal thing being the normal thing with the Commanders is they got a rookie quarterback. Cinderella's at the ball. And it's very, very, very seldom does Cinderella actually get their hands on the trophy. So I'm going to have to see the Commanders do it before I believe it. But they're capable.
I was reading something earlier. Rookie quarterbacks 0-5 in championship games to go to the Super Bowl.
Well, there you go. I mean,
yeah.
But this kid's special now. I mean, he's established himself and super fun to watch, and evidently is a great, great young man, and I'm happy for him.
Awesome stuff. All right, Coach, looking forward to the show in a little less than 10 minutes at the top of the hour.
All righty.
Thanks. There he goes. Steve Logan with us here. Logan Zone coming up, top of the hour. Again, the breaking news. And Pilk, that is, we're going to have Thursday night football in August. ECU will be taking on NC State from Raleigh, and that will be a game played on national television, distributed one way or the other. I guess the other possibility, I was just looking a moment ago, I guess Wake and Kennesaw are playing in Winston-Salem, but that to me would have ACC Network written all over it.
You would hope so. You'd hope, nothing against the ACC Network, but if you're going to get moved up for the sake of being moved up, you'd hope it's more of a national, worldwide leader type broadcast.
I can't imagine ESPN, ABC, or ESPN2 would want Wake and Kennesaw.
No.
So they
wouldn't.
To me, that would be the ACC Network deal.
Yeah. But
in my opinion. But that's interesting. I think the Thursday night game is fascinating. I like the idea of it, the ACC making that announcement today, so that gives you an idea of what's going to be played. I also just got word that my gig is on tomorrow, Pilk.
Okay.
So it'll be the
Philip
Pilkington show. You and Kasulki.
All right.
And you'll do great. You've done a great job this week with everything you've done. So
sounds good. Yeah.
Fine.
Interesting thing though. Backtracking a little bit, you and Coach were talking about NFL. That is the week that the preseason is done and the regular season has not started yet, so there will 100% not be.
Yeah, there won't be a
an
game
NFL
at all.
Game. Yeah, at all. No chance. Zero.
And not even a preseason.
No, there will not. They will have wrapped up the previous Sunday.
Yep. So there you go. Big national audience. If you're going to play on a Thursday in college football, that's the time of year to do it. It's going to be hot, though. I don't know if I can make the game now, Pilk. I might have to take Friday off.
Might have to. But yeah, I mean,
I wanted to go. If nothing changed for me, I wanted to go as a fan and
get
in the face of a Wolfpack fan. All right. Thanks to Coach Logan. Thanks to Scott Jackson. I'll see you in the morning on Talk of the Town. Pilk will be with you tomorrow from the ECU Bowl celebration at the Hall of Fame. Logan Zone coming up, top of the hour.
From the WNCT Newsroom, I'm Erin Jenkins. A DuPont County deputy